Hello, welcome back. I'm Sam and this is ST Classics. Hello, welcome back. It's been a while. As you know, I was busy getting married and honeymoon and everything else. Sorry ladies, I'm officially taken now. Anyway, back to this video. I have something really special in the workshop which you can just about see here. Eagle Eye will know it's a MK1 Escort, but it's something very, very special. It was dropped off a couple of days ago, and I'd go as far as to say it's a unicorn, because I've never come across something like it before. Anyway, what I'll do is it's in here for some work. He asked me to check it over, see what it needs. So I have done, I've estimated for the job as best as I can. He's quite happy to go ahead with the work. So I will show you the vehicle. MK1 RS2000. Pinstripes, not the big wide stripe. Steels. Where's my joystick going funny? Whoa, there we go. Don't know why it's having a dicky fit. Anyway, the car, when I say it's a unicorn, most people look at this and go, well, it's a MK1 RS2000, it's not that special. Well, actually it is, because this car is a one owner, matching numbers. The current owner is the same guy who bought it from Ford back in 1975, which is just unheard of. It's hard, I think from our conversations, it's had inner and outer wings, which were replaced. I'm going to say inner and outer wings and slam panel, which were replaced when it was 6 years old. Which gives you an idea of how good these rotted back in the day. And then some paintwork, obviously. And then he used it for a bit. He's got pictures of this car on his honeymoon in 1979 with his wife, who he's still with now. And yeah, as you can imagine, he's got lots of sentimental value with this car. It's just unbelievable. 60,000 miles, original engine. Just like a MK1. Yeah, the only modifications are a Jan speed exhaust and manifold. Still got the original air filter, or air cleaner, as you American watchers like to call it. Yeah, unbelievable. Now he has given me permission to film this job. The only stipulation being cover the number plates up just for privacy, and he doesn't want, the chances of people trying to clone his car or whatnot. But yeah, unbelievable. Sebring red, pinstripe car, steel wheels, which for me is the best combination. The only thing missing is the black vinyl roof for me. I love a MK1 RS with a black vinyl roof. But other than that, it's just perfect. Lovely colour, sits nice. Say pinstripes instead of the big wide stripes. I'm not a fan of the big wide stripes. I know it's iconic with these cars, but for me, I think I prefer the more understated look with the pinstripes. Oh yeah, the modifications. It's got some old school Pioneer speakers on the shelf. Yeah, unbelievable. Custom wood pack as well. It's got that authentic MK1 Escort smell to it. There we go. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And the story goes, the reason he's kept it as long as he has is because early on in its life, his nan gave him some money and he bought a private number plate, which he fitted to the car back in the day, and he put it away in a barn. MOT went out, whatever, life got in the way, and he stopped using the car. And the only reason he never sold it or parted with the car is because the private number plate was on it, and in order to remove the private number plate, he needed an MOT, and at the time it had no MOT, it wasn't roadworthy, so we just left it in a barn for years. I'm sure he said 30 years And when he pulled it out, he had it all stripped down, repainted and put back together. But when they put it back together, they just put it back together as it was. They didn't replace anything. I think he said he put mains and big ends in the engine. Other than that, the cylinder head's not been off. All the suspensions original, you know, everything was just put back together as it was stripped down. So as you can imagine now, it needs some bushes and some things addressing. But I'll go through that with you and give you a proper walk around underneath and stuff. So underneath it, you see, Jan Speed. He's got some Bilsteins on the back, which are new, because when it was all put back together, he said the back end felt a bit loose, there was a couple of knocks and stuff, so we thought it might have been the shock absorbers. So we bought some new Bilsteins for it. Other than that, underneath, it's pretty much original apart from being painted and wax oiled. Show you what I was talking about with the bushes. So he said he thinks it needs bushes on the back, and as you can see, they're very soft and splitting, and I'm also unsure whether they're 60mm Mark II shackles, because they do look, from what I remember, it's been a while since I've worked on a Mark 1. I always remember them being completely straight. These look like they kick like a Mark II. See more on that one. There's actually a gap. Spring can move around, and the bush is completely split. So he's asked me to try and rectify, put some new bushes on the back. On the leaf springs, it's also having, where are they? You can see it, tramp bar bushes, because you can see they're all perished and split. There's a little blow on the back box. What else? Oh, right, to the front. So you had the passenger caliper refurbed. When it ring, wait. Had the passenger caliper refurb, that's all good. You see, that was the one he was having problems with. Since then, he started having problems with the driver's caliper. So I'm going to be removing that, that's going away, having pistons, seals, whatnot. It's having a new trap rod end, because as you can see, that's perished and finished. Excuse me. It's got a blow on the downpipe, and it's got some severe oil leaks. By that I mean, this was all cleaned off, because this was covered. See, there's some drips here. The full floor, full sump was covered. So I did was got brake clean, dried everything off, cleaned it off, made sure it was immaculate, and then run the car for about 15 minutes. And then already I've wiped this off once as well since then. You can see it's running down from the sump gasket. This side's dried off, but it is running down from this side, the sump gasket. I wiped all this off last night because it kept dripping on me. And then this is the worst of it. So as you can see, it's running out the bell housing here. It could have been sump gasket, could have been crank oil seal. I'm actually following the oil up here and up. And you can see it beside the engine here, which was cleaned off, is soaking wet right on this back corner of the head. So it looks like it's coming from the cylinder head. From the, it's not coming from the rocker cover, it's dry above it. It actually looks like it's coming from the head gasket, which, if any of you guys know your Pinto engines, that is the part where it's coming from, this area here, and that's actually the drain from the cylinder head back to the sump. So it looks like it's leaking from this part of the head gasket. So sadly, it's going to have a head gasket. What we've agreed to do is pull the engine out, obviously sump gasket and whatever seals we think it needs on the bottom end. The cylinder head's being removed, and while it's removed, it's going to be converted to unleaded, i.e. hardened valve seats, fresh head gasket, valve stem oil seals, gaskets, etc., and put back together. Now that is the main part of the work. There's a couple of little bits, like he wants the little rubber cover for the 6RA relay on the inner wing. It needs a couple of screws for the wood dash kit because they're missing, some courtesy light switches because they're quite worn out. the little rubber buffer that goes behind the wing mirror, the rear view mirror, just little jobs, but the main one is the back suspension and sort these oil leaks out. Oh, it wants engine mounts as well, that's something else we spotted. As you can see, they're pretty cracked and sagging now. You can tell as soon as you start up, it gives that good old pinto shake. So yeah, we're just addressing a few issues and then go back to the owner. But yeah, it's the condition is unbelievable. You can see the spot welds down the sill, original floor pans. You know, when was the last time you seen a Martin Escort with original floor pans? And yeah, there's a couple of bolts here. Must have stripped the threads in the seat base, in the floor pan. But, you know, it's just unbelievable. These lumps in the chassis legs where they always rot out. You know, people jack up on them, flatten them out, and then they start rotting from the inside out. It's just unheard of. This is why I call it a unicorn car, because you will never find another. One owner, 60,000 mile. Not, excuse me, finger. As you can see, it's got a coat of clear wax oil all over the paint, but unbelievable. I actually feel honoured to have something like this in the workshop. It's just something you never see. Obviously got some dents in the chassis leg where it's been jacked up. But what a car. Absolutely amazing and completely irreplaceable. So I want to get this turned around as quick as possible, as you can imagine. Get it out of the workshop and get it back with the owner where he can start enjoying it. So what I'm going to do, first job, I'm going to get the front wheels off it, get this caliper off, because the owner is going to, the same guy who refurbed this one is going to do this one, so the owner's going to take that away and have it refurbed. Then I'm going to tackle getting the engine out. Now, if you've done worked on an RS2000 before, you know this is quite tricky. For two reasons. So, to get the gearbox out, you can see it's quite tight on the tunnel, big alley bell housing. You have to put longer bolts in the engine cross member, lower it down, and then the gearbox will come out. To do the sump gasket, you have to remove the cross member. To pull the engine out, you have to drop the cross member because it won't go past. So the easiest way to do this, and it's not something I want to do, but it really is the easiest way to do this, is drop the engine and gearbox on the cross member in one. It saves trying to pull it out top and damaging things. It just, the alley sump will not go through and out the top. It just won't, it's impossible. Well, I'm not saying it's impossible, it probably could be done, but I am not risking damaging this car. It's bad enough having to take it apart and work on it. I think the safest option is going to be drop the engine and gearbox in one, and then pull the gearbox off when it's on the deck, and do all my work on the engine on the floor, i.e. sump, get it on the engine stand, get the cylinder head off and get that sent away, get the valve seats done, and get the sump gasket done and reseal the bottom end. And then I can concentrate on repairing the downpipe, swapping engine mounts, doing all the suspension work while the engine and gearbox is out and heads away, getting work done. So yeah, this is what we're working on for the next day or so. Getting this all stripped down, get all the parts ordered up, and get cracking, get it back out the door again. Absolutely amazing. Obviously these would have been black or zinc coated, you know, they've not removed it when you painted it, but it's just really honest and not over restored. If it was, you could go wild and put everything back to as it left the factory, completely original, you know, everything zinc plated, painted, whatnot. You wouldn't want to use it, and I think this guy actually wants to use this car, so it's more a case of recommission rather than restore, which is good because you don't see them like this anymore. Anyway, I'm going to stop yapping. I'm going to get cracking with the job at hand. One of the jobs on the list is to try and find some original screws for the air filter. I've got an idea of which ones they should be. I just hope I've got some in stock knocking around somewhere. If not, I'll have to track them down. I'm pretty sure they're big Phillips like an M5 maybe, fine thread, quite a long thing, I think. Anyway, I'll have to check. But yeah, that's one of the jobs. Replace them. Another job is replace the little rubber on the rear view mirror, which is, you know, always being in the sun for 50 years takes its toll. And then we've got some courtesy lights, which are a bit we've seen the day. I'm sure he said something about some screws missing off the wood trim. So these are actually wrong. They should be, from what I remember, they should all be little Phillips heads, and that one's actually missing. So he wants me to try and source some of them. Talking to Ray Cole, or Coley, from the 13E group on Facebook, said the screws are actually quite rare, quite sought after, because they're actually copper plated, I believe he said. So I'm just trying to track down a guy who is now remaking the wood kits, so maybe he may be able to supply the screw kits. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see how we get on with that. Where are we? The other job, one of the smaller jobs, is the 6RA relay, as it's known, on the inner wing, is missing. Apparently appears to be wired wrong, I think, because in this centre should be a fuse with a rubber cover up. Camera's not even looking at it. That's poor. So yeah, I think this pin, this should be out here. I'll have to check on the wiring, because in the centre here should be a fuse with a little rubber cover. Now thankfully I've tracked down someone who's reproduced the rubber covers, so that should be an easy fix. I just need to work out, I'm sure that red goes here. I have to work out the orientation of the wiring. That's another one of the simple jobs. I'm trying to think what else there was. Off the top of my head I can't remember. There's a little few jobs like that, nothing serious, daft ones. You know, you get an idea of the oil. Well, there is a little bit just up from the head gasket. I don't think it's enough to warrant where it's coming from. I definitely think it's coming from that head gasket, that back corner. But we need to get the engine out anyway to sort this some gasket, so we'll be able to spot that a bit better while it's out. You can see, I don't know if you can see, the Mark 1 RS2000. So the Mark II RS had the same engine, etc., but it had alloy bell housing, alloy sump, alloy engine mounts, and alloy alternator bracket. Whereas the Mark 1 RS2000 had everything alloy bar the engine mounts, which were actually cast iron. So I'm not sure why they changed them. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same. Different air box, or air cleaner again. Different radiator. I think generally the engine's virtually the same as a Mark II RS. First job, drop the oil out of it. Something I just spotted with the engine mounts is the cups are actually on the wrong side. So they have the steel cup, which should be on the engine side, on the cross member. So they need putting back in the right place. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, I think the first job's get the fluids out of it, engine, coolant. I'm gonna whip the prop off it. I've got a prop yoke that we can wedge in the back of there so we won't lose too much gearbox oil. And carry on. I'll have to, once I've got the fluids out of it, I'll have to drop it off the lift, jump inside the car, remove the gear stick and the steering column. I'll probably take the nut and bolt out the column this end, simply because it's going to be in the way. So we need to pull the steering column into the car, and then everything is outside once the column and gear stick's removed. So while the oil was draining, I disconnected the starter motor. It can actually, the starter motor can stay in the engine gearbox. You just come out as one, disconnected the earth off the side of the block, unplug the alternator. I will be removing the alternator just because it sticks out so far. I don't want it catching the chassis leg on the way down. Obviously drain the oil, pull the bung out for the clutch cable, so I'll have to back the clutch cable off and then pull it off the fork. Disconnected the reverse light, which is just this single brown wire onto here. And I did start removing the prop shaft, but when I tried to find my yoke to push in the end of the box, I can't find it, so someone's borrowed it and not returned it. So all I'll have to do is just drain the gearbox, put some fresh oil in. It won't do it any harm. Something I did notice as well while I was replacing, putting the sump plug back in, is we're missing 2 bolts and one of the caps out the bell housing, so I'll have to source them as well, refit them. So we moved along a little bit, got the full exhaust system off, prop shaft off, air filter, all the coolant hoses, bar 1, which is currently just draining. So I'm going to notice it's got a few Samco hoses on it. Top hose is original, bottom hose is Samco, 2 heater hoses. These are probably cracked or whatever. Starter motor's disconnected, alternator's disconnected, distributor's disconnected, temperature sensor off the side of the head disconnected, oil pressure pipes removed. What else? I'll leave the manifold on, I'll come out as one. I need to route the speedo cable, clutch cable, and fuel lines. I'll do the fuel lines next, I think. And that's essentially the engine disconnected, I think. Throttle cable's off. Yeah, it's pretty much the engine disconnected. Speedo cable and gear stick, and that's apart from the mounts, that's the gearbox done. Then it's just column, bottom arms, and trapper ends, anti-roll bar, and then we can drop it all out. In fact, I'm going to get the radiator out of the way because I do not fancy it. Probably could go past there, but I'm not going to risk it because I don't have a radiator in stock, and even if I wanted one, I probably couldn't find one. So it's best just to get it out of the way. So I will have to pop the grill off because being a MK1 RS2000, it has I believe it's a Kenlo electric fan. So it bolts to this side of the radiator mounts with the same bolts as the radiator. So I need to access both sides, so the grill will have to come off. I think I'll do that now actually while the gearbox is still dripping. What will happen is it'll drip slowly until I remove that gearbox mount and it tilts back, and then we'll get a gush of nice smelly EP8090. Things are moving along, shouldn't take long now. Hardest bit will be jumping in the car and getting the column out. It's always a bit of a pain, but it's probably the hardest job, I think. Things are moving along a bit. That is the engine and gearbox completely disconnected. Got the radiator removed, got the alternator removed, just so it clears the chassis leg coming out. Got the speedo cable out, got the clutch cable out, disconnected the fuel line, and that is everything done now from the engine and the gearbox, apart from the mounts and the gear stick. But before I can drop the engine and gearbox out, I need to jump in the car, get the car off the lift so I can get the doors open, remove the steering column, remove the gear stick, and drop it all out in one. I will be, once they're out of the way, I'll be removing the roll bar with the brackets, body brackets. In fact, I might just remove, it might be easy to remove, yeah, I'll just remove the rack clamps, save disturbing the quarter bumper brackets because they also mount up on the body brackets, and before you know it, it'll be adjusting quarter bumpers. Remove the TCAs and roll bar in one, and then the engine gearbox can drop out in one, and we can split the gearbox off it on the floor and start removing the cylinder head and whatnot, and start delving into the engine. But I'm going to call it a day there. Thankfully, nothing has broke. Touch wood, because it's still early days, there's still a bit to go. Nothing has broke, no bolts have snapped, nothing was seized. I was very careful removing this alternator because this, if anyone knows their RS2000s, is a pretty rare piece. I think this is the, is it the external rectifier? I'm not sure, but it has this, whereas your normal later Mark II RS2000, later ones just have the 3-pin plug. This also has this plug as well, and it has a little black box on the inner wing. I'm sure it's an external voltage reg or rectifier, I'm not sure. All I know is they're very sought after. I know early, very early, Mark II RS2000 and Mexico's use this system too. You always find people looking for the box for the inner wing or whatnot. So yeah, quite sought after, so be sure to look after that. Yeah, good progress. I may come back later on tonight and get this engine and gearbox out. I also need to remove the caliper as well because that'll be getting collected soon. So yeah, I'll probably come back tonight, get the engine and gearbox out of it. Just as promised, come back for the night shift. Everything under there is undone, engine wise. Gearbox, the only thing left was the gear stick, but I think what I'm actually going to do is try it safe, removing this lovely original console and risking breaking it, and we'll just remove the gear knob and hopefully the gear stick should just slip out there. Lovely. But I do have to take the column out. So it's going to be steering wheel off, ignition cowls, indicator stalk, unplug the ignition barrel, and 2 bolts securing it to the column, 2 bolts securing it to the lower bulkhead, 2 bolts securing it to the dashboard, and the shelf will have to be removed too because that is actually fixed to the bracket on the bottom of the column. Let's plug for the ignition switch, and there's the plug for the indicator stalk. First of all, get this centre cap out. This looks like an original one, so I don't want to damage that. Steering wheel off, then the top cowl can come off. Then the indicator stalk will have to be removed, then the bottom cowl can come off. It'll show you 2 imperial bolts, can't remember what size head they are, the 11/16 maybe. And then 2 10mm or 11/16 bolts down there. A couple of pins. This will come out. All being well, it should just slip out the knuckle, but probably not. I have sprayed it with some oil. Sometimes you need to just get a screwdriver in there to just separate the joint a little. It's not been off in a while. You now get an idea of just how bad that oil leak is. Anyway, we'll sort that. Let's get this column out of the way first. Grab some tools and get at it. So, steering wheel removed. Oh, while we're in here, look. 61,498 miles. Looking at it, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Anyway, back to what I found. Anyone spot the problem? So, that's the wrong way round. So what's left of that little peg, you see here, should poke in the hole on the back of the steering wheel. And this peg here is the canceller for the indicator. Click, click, as you can see. So, it's actually fitted that way with the spring on top, which, from what I can remember, was wrong. Because I thought it was spring, then canceller, then steering wheel. Which makes sense because if you put it on without the spring, put it on the other way, the canceller's hitting, it's going to smash as soon as you tighten it up, and this peg is for the steering wheel. So, in fact, it is right because there's a little tiny, you can just see inside there, and that's part of the bearing. So that is meant to compress the bearing. And that's meant to go like that, and then the canceller will work for the indicator. So there you go, we'll be able to fix that little problem when I put it back together. Just put the nut back on here. Oh, and going back to when I said it's 11/16 bolts, it isn't 11/16 bolts, it's 7/16 bolts. Silly. You can see there the copper, when I was talking about the screws before. Don't know if it'll focus in. Actually copper plated or copper screws, hence why they're virtually impossible to find. Anyway, right, next one. Couple of screws, get this top cowl off, get the indicator stalk off with these 2 Phillips screws here, and a plug, feed it through, get the indicator stalk out of the way, and then there isn't a screw, there should be a screw there, it's missing. and then that cowl will come off. Yes. So again, never understood, what is that hole for on a mountain Escort? I never did get that. It's always confused me. What is it for? If anyone knows, please comment and let me know. Some of them things that has, well, I wouldn't say troubled me, but always puzzled me. What's it for? Someone must have an answer. Some brainiac out there. Nothing behind there you can get to. Yeah, I'm sure someone will know. Another little minor hiccup. So this bracket was fitted this way. When I started unscrewing it, I noticed that the stalk was twisting, which it has a locating peg, which you can see has been bent out the way, and the reason being, the hole is down there. So this is being fitted this way with the peg at the top and the cowl fixed to there. And in actual fact, it should have been fitted that way, so the locating peg locks into the column, and then the stalk can't twist. So we'll straighten that out, put it the right way when we put it back together. No little job, just making that a little bit nicer, a little bit more authentic, a little bit more user friendly. So now I'm going to unplug this stalk and pull this through, and then a cowl in. There we go. We'll just pull through. It might even go through there. See, will it? Will we take the keys out of the ignition? Come on. Playing games. Beautiful. Oh no. No. I don't want to have to take all the switch panel out. Well, there's a bolt just there and I forgot. Well, yeah. So the screws for the switch panel are now hidden just behind this lovely wood trim. So this wood trim's going to have to come off. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, and then there is 2. One in the corner here going into the heater box. And I hope I can get to this one. Yes. So we'll be able to just move this out of the way, access this 7/16 bolt and this one, and the 2 on the bottom. Unplug the ignition barrel, and all being well, pull it out of the way. But we'll see. So I'm going to say they are not the correct dashboard screws for that wood trim. A couple of them are like self-tapper wood screws, and then one's like a machine screw, if you like. Plus the flathead screws. And generally, flathead screws aren't used in cars. With our little under dash tray removed, so you unplug the ignition switch. So unplugged, that's unplugged, under dash tray. I removed the 3 mushroom pins, whatever you want to call them, and the idea was to leave the brackets in situ, but the brackets were loose anyway and they fell off. They just screw to the kick panel, well, through the kick panel into the A panel, and yeah, they come off anyway, and the ends just popped off that with a bit of glue on it. Anyway, we'll sort that out at a later date, and that's out of the way. Oh, that's where the third fixing is, fixes to the column, hence why it had to be removed. Something else I spotted is the wash pipe's actually off. To do some digging on whereabouts that goes. It goes on the foot pump somewhere. There's the pipe. Can't actually find where it goes, so I will have to do some digging on that and refit this as well. It looks it's quite clean cut. Anyway, we'll address that when we get the column out the way. So luckily with the switch panel, with just the screws out the top, it may give me enough room just to get that bolt, and then obviously this one and the 2 at the base, and then fingers crossed she should pull out. Well, that slipped out an absolute treat. So expecting a little bit more resistance than that, but thankfully, no more column. Beautiful. Right then. Now we can get it back on the lift, get it up in the air and start removing roll bar, TCAs and get the engine box out. Clean up in aisle 3, clean up in aisle 3, gear oil. So like a dummy I moved the car forward, didn't I, to do the work underneath off the lift, and didn't move the drain tub forward, and gearbox emptied on the floor. So a bit of a clean up and then we'll tackle this front suspension. So cleaned up, wheels off. Interesting, it's actually got some little 5mm wheel spacers on there. Is a bit of a surprise, I wasn't expecting to find them. Wheels out the way, still it's solid discs. It's not had the upgrade to vented with the spacers in the caliper, which is a proper period mod everyone seemed to do. So an interesting wheel nuts. Mark II Mexico and RS1800, base model Mark II RS2000 had very similar wheel nuts, as in same shape, you know, same design on the end, only the it was black on the Mark IIs, and also these are Imperial because they're Mark I, and the UNF, whereas the Mark IIs are metric. Interesting fact for you. Yeah, they look very, very, very similar. They could even be exactly the same other than the chrome. It's been a while since I've seen one. Anyway, I need to, what do we need to do? Trot rod end off, which is one of the jobs I've got to do anyway. This trot rod end is knackered. Trot rod ends off, bottom ball joints off, inner TCA bolts and roll bar mounts, and get that out of the way, and then finally we can drop this engine and box in one and get it out. This one's on split pin, we need to get that split pin out. Yes, let's get to it, get some tools, get it ripped apart. I'm a little bit gutted because it looks like it's on original locking tabs, so I might try and be gentle with them and see if I can reuse them. We'll see. Let's get some tools and get on with it. Stop yapping. So I was down here, trot rod end off. I'm trying to turn the strut round every time. Do the bottom ball joint. It's just springing, which leads me to believe the top mounts have been over tightened. And when I was checking the top mounts, I noticed I don't think that's actually been locked up properly. That one's been done slightly, and this one hasn't been done at all. So you're supposed to knock this little tang into, knock it into this insert here to lock it up. So I'm going to back these off slightly just so we've got a bit of movement in the struts, and then when we're finished, torque these up to 35 pound-foot, I think it is, and then lock them up properly, because that makes the steering very heavy. So yeah, I'm going to back these off a touch, both sides. I'll be able to crack these bottom ball joints and get the bottom ball joints out a bit easier, and then I can rectify that problem when it all rolls back together. That's better. So next up, bottom ball joint nuts, and these being genuine Ford TCAs. You can see by this lump on the bottom, they're original genuine Ford TCAs. Should have some stampings down there. Just about make them out. Anything on the front? Whoa, 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 whoa. No, can't see on that one. You can see the stampings down there slightly. But yeah, anyway, they're both genuine Ford TCAs, so I want to take my time, get these off without damaging them. Managed to get this off, even though it's damaged, with the ball joint splitter. This little snazzy tool here, one of the best things I ever bought. Serves destroying ball joints. So I'll get that cracked off, get that out of the way. Move on to the other side, same again, and then get this roll bar and TCAs out of the way. There you go, roll bar and TCAs out of the way. We're now all clear. So the only thing left to do is set this up on some axle stands. I'll probably get 2 axle stands under the cross member and a trolley jack under the the back of the gearbox just so we can level it out. And it's 4 cross-member bolts, which would be 9/16 heads, and then 2 13s each side of the gearbox. I'll lower it all out. I just want to make sure, one last check over. I'm sure there's nothing that's going to snag up. Oil pressure pipe would do it tucking out the way, but I think that is it. Yeah, I think that should go. Right then, let's get it out. There we have it. It's out. Straight out, no problems. Beautiful. Bit of a clean up in that engine bay before it goes back in. Oh, we've got some access. Yeah, pretty trouble free. Straight out, even with the gear stick. So, yeah, let's investigate. Oh yeah, definitely coming from that corner. Yep. Who knows? But I'm sure we'll find out. I think it's quite clear. It's head gasket. Anyway, don't know. The head's getting sent away for unleaded hardened valve seats anyway, so makes sense. Anyway, let's get the engine crane out. I think first of all, take this manifold off, take the inlet manifold off, get some lifting eyes on the motor, and get this gearbox split off it, get the cross member off it, and set it up on an engine stand. There we have the exhaust manifold off. I think it's had a bit of a blow at some point as well. Quite a bit of a blow. I'm not sure what these are for. So yes, sadly, we're now running into difficulties because so far this is stripped down an absolute treat and no problems, but I'm encountering my first problems. The first one being the Dizzy is seized. So it's been a bit of a pain to get the inlet manifold off. Managed to get it off, but in doing so, we've had our first breakage. Water elbow. So I'm pretty sure I've got another inlet manifold. I'll have to delicately remove that because they also have a tendency to snap in the manifold. But it's 50-year-old, can't even call it alloy, it's made of monkey metal. Awful. But sadly, yeah, that's our first breakage on the full car. I'm not proud. RIP water fitting, you served well. Rest easy, buddy. Never mind, onwards and upwards. Right, we can concern ourselves with that when it's going back together. Next job is get some lifting eyes on it, get the engine crane, get it lifted. It'll drain a bit better. That gearbox will drain a bit better with the engine suspended on the crane because the gearbox will want to drop down. Remove the cross member, starter, gearbox, and then it's going to be flywheel and clutch, and get the engine on an engine stand. Just make it a bit easier to work on. And then we can deal with rocker cover off, cam belt cover off, cam belt off, get a TDC, get all the head bolts off it, get the cylinder head off. That can be dropped off tomorrow at the machine shop. Then we can spun over and start working on that sump gasket, get it all cleaned up. I think I might, no I haven't got a sump gasket. I'll have to order the gasket kits, top and bottom end. I'll get them ordered now, actually, before I forget. But yeah, let's keep moving. So now 9 o'clock at night, still early, plenty to do, plenty to go at. So, cam belt cover removed. It's definitely had some work over the years because that's not an original bolt. Neither is that, neither is that. Although that is a 10mm head, but the original bolts have like a steel shank on them. And these should have rubber grommets. Also, this slot here is for this bolt. So it slides into there, it should do. And it helps mount it. But and this is the bottom water pump bolt, which should be there. So then when this bolt's in there, the cam belt cover slides into that notch and this extra mount. But it's been replaced with a normal bolt at some point, so we'll swap it out for the proper one when we get some access to it. And it's had a cam belt recently. The tensioner looks new. Belt doesn't look all that old. It's had a cam belt. Definitely had a water pump as well, because it's on an alloy water pump. It should be a cast iron one. It was an original Motorcraft item. Yeah, from that, I think that fuel pump's been replaced recently as well, because that looks like one of the modern ones. Yeah, put some lifting eyes on it. You can see I put some big bolts behind it to space it off, because the last thing I want to do is tighten it up and crush this rocker cover, because obviously this would go on after the exhaust manifold, so it'd be spaced, and same again on the back. You'd usually have the space of an alloy in that manifold. So that is it, ready to lift off there now. I'll set the engine crane up, get some lifting strap on it and get it lifted. Would you look at that? It's still on. Genuine Ford cam. Probably original. It actually, very low wear. I'm not sure on that spray bar. What's the second one I've seen in a couple of weeks like that? Is that damaged? Almost looks like it's been pressed. Was this a mod people did back in the day or something, or I don't know. Doesn't look right, but what do I know? Yeah, apart from being a bit grubby in there, it looks all right. What I've noticed though is on cylinders 1 and 2, look at the oil on the back of that valve. Again, it's even worse on number 2. 3 is not as bad, number 4 is nice and dry, so I'm hoping it's just valve stem oil seals, which we'll be doing anyway when the head's off. Hopefully it's just valve stem oil seals. We shall see. But yep, original cam. You never see that anymore. So the gearbox off, you can see it's been draining down into the bell housing. A little puddle there. Clutch looks dry, so hopefully it's not contaminated it. We'll find out when I get it off, because the next job is flywheel, clutch, flywheel, get the engine lifted up, get it mounted on the engine stand. And I think I'll call it a night then, because it's getting a bit late now. Getting a bit tired. I'll attack it again tomorrow, but good progress so far. The running driving car about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and I've not been on it all since then. I have gone home and had some tea and seen my little girl and stuff, so yeah, it's moving along nicely. So it's the day after, engine's on the engine stand, time to get this cylinder head off. I'm going to concentrate on getting the cylinder head off it, so I can get that dropped off at the machine shop and they can work on fitting the replacing the valve seats with hardened valve seats. And so something interesting I've found, pulled the thermostat housing off it. Early steel thermostat housing. So Mark 1 RS, early Mark 2 RS, Mexico, would have had a steel thermostat housing. But what's more interesting is the lack of thermostat. Not sure if that was intentional or something that's been missed, who knows. Anyway, first job I did was time the engine up. You can see in there, that's the marker for the cam. Little peg and the dot, and then your timing mark down here, and I've just put a little marker on the auxiliary drive which runs the dizzy, which I've also put a marker on because this car runs pretty perfect, so I'd like to keep the dizzy timing as it was, which is handy because the dizzy is still seized. I left it soaking in oil last night and it doesn't want to move, so all being well I should be able to time it up exactly the same as the way I took it apart. So next job is crack off the tensioner. You've got a 13 here, a little Torx drive here, take the tension off, take the belt off, and then it will be head bolts, which you can just see sunk in oil there. If I get this, These should be, if these are original, these should be the multi-spline, not the star drive. Let's see. Yes, multi-spline. So there's differences. Something a lot of people do, and I've seen it quite a few times, is the different torque settings for early and late head bolts. So I believe these are non-stretch bolts, and the later are stretch. And I've seen people mix up the settings, and then the head gasket doesn't seal properly, it leaks, you know, all that sort of stuff. So these are early head bolts. I don't think these are stretch bolts, so I don't think these actually need to be replaced. I'll have to check up on that. I might be wrong. It might be worth just replacing them anyway. They're 50 years old and we've obviously had a problem, so I think I'll swap these for some later stretch type. They're interchangeable as long as you get the settings correct. So whip these 10 head bolts off and cam belt, and that is it. Cylinder head is off. I'm going to remove the tensioner off it, the cam or tappets, etc. So it's going there as a burr head, because they're going to be replacing, going to be cutting the valve seats out of it, machining, why can't I talk, thinking of something else, replacing the valve seats, valve stem oil seals, and giving it a light skim, just because we don't know how long it's been run with the head gasket leaking. So yeah, I'm going to crack on, get the time belt off, and get this head off. And there we have it, cylinder head removed. Got off nice and easily, as you can see. Now I know when I pulled the head bolts out, some of the oil dropped down through the head bolt ports and down, but you see it better on the cylinder head, how wet it is around that port. You can actually see there's a piece of gasket broke away there. So that is what the problem was. Exactly what I predicted. Let's get this head gasket off. Yeah, there's actually a piece of head gasket missing. There we go, that was the problem. That was the major oil leak. We got it right. Can't see if that's an original gasket or not, it looks old. I only say Ford on them somewhere, but yeah, like I say, really old gasket, 50 years old. No, can't see anything on that, but yeah, quite fair to say that was the problem right there. I can get on it, you can actually see it. Piece of the gasket missing right in the oil port. So yeah, that'll do it. Right in, I'll let that drain for a minute, get all the excess oil. Oh, something else I found as well is the spray bar. So we got a tab there, and a tab over here, because it was actually snapped off. Ta-da! So we're going to have to get a spray bar as well, which is always a good practice with the Pinto engine. So yeah, more parts needed, spray bar. I'll speak with the customer, should have a thermostat in there, so we'll probably end up putting a thermostat in. I'm going to whip all these studs out the head, spark plugs, temperature sensor, just so it's nice and clean, cam, tappets, etc. and send it over for machining. I've got the cylinder head drained off a bit of brake cleaner on it, get rid of some of the oil. Next job is cam and some of the valve tray, well, the tappets and followers out, or tappets and balls, what do you call these? I don't know, can't think off the top of my head. So first we return the spring off, then crack this bottom nut, wind it all the way up, wind the ball stud all the way down, and then pull the tappet out the way. I'm going to do that with all 8, so I do 4 this side, spin the head round, do 4 on the other side, and then there's 2 retainers on the cam here, a little bracket, take the pulley off the front, and then the cam will pull out the back, which I don't know why Ford did that with the Pinto engine, because in order to change the cam, you've got to remove the cylinder head or drill a big hole in the bulkhead. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. Once that's stripped out, whip these studs out, I've already got the temperature sensor outside the head. As you can see there, 2 litre head. On a Pinto engine, if it's got these 3 holes, it's a 2 litre. Which it should be anyway, because it's the original head for the car. I'm presuming. I'd say it is. But anyway, something else I'm going to do while the head's out. I know we didn't talk about it. Core plugs in the engine on the sides look to be good. Look to be relatively new. whereas the one in the cylinder head is looking a bit old, and worse still, the one in the back of the block. You look at this one's looking very crusty, and that's just the outside, so I'm guessing the inside looks really bad. In order to change this one, as you can see the line on the bell housing, that's inside the bell housing. So once the gearbox is in there, you're not getting that. So just out of precaution, I'll change the two on the back, one on the back of the head, one on the back of the block. The two on the side of the block look fine. It's just preventative maintenance. The last thing I want to do is put it all back together. I have to take the head off to change this core plug, or worse still, to try and get the gearbox out of it to change the one on the back of there. So I think I might have a couple of spares knocking around. If not, I'll just have to order a kit. But I'm going to get this stripped down, get it loaded in the van, and get it straight to the machine shop, and then go pick up some more bits. I've got some bushes, some bits and pieces, which I'm collecting from GS Classic Fords. He's got them in stock. Sadly, he hasn't got all the bushes in stock, and they're on back order. So I may have to order elsewhere them. Leaf ring bushes, I think it was the shackle bushes. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, get cracking, less talking, more working. So there we have it, cylinder head stripped, gasket on there, but yeah, all the studs out, spark plugs out, tappets, followers, whatever you want to call them, cam. Did have to introduce the old map gas on some studs, because inlet side, there was all new studs, and then there was one up here, which was an old one, which I knew that was seized in. That's why they didn't try and change it when they changed all the rest. And then on this side, we had three, the bottom ones, which were really seized in there, so we had to get some heat on them. Last thing I want to do is snap studs in there, but I'll probably replace all these studs now, exhaust and inlet, just as because I've had some heat on them, and some of them are 50 years old. So yeah, that's it, we're all ready to go. I'll drop it off now with some valve stem oil seals. They'll replace them while they're I've got the valves out, and that's that part of it done. So after sending the customer some progress photos over, see where the car's up to, you know, showing the engine, showing the head gasket faults, little things, bits and pieces that I found, he actually replied and said, would it be possible to give the engine block a lick of paint? Which is a little bit more in depth than just giving the engine block a coat of paint. I don't like to hand paint engines, I think it's terrible. So I spray paint them all in VHC satin black, just to make them look nice and fresh. For instance, this is one that I've just done. You know, for an engine block that's 40, 45 years old, looks good. And it doesn't take a great deal of time. Pressure wash it off, degrease it, quick wire wheel to remove any rust, and then a bit of mask up on the faces, and a once over, which is fine when it's a burr block. But as you can see, this isn't a burr block. I have finally got the distributor removed because that was seized. Got the breather out of it, got the bottom pulley off, auxiliary pulley, got some bits and pieces off, as you can see, lined up on here. So it'll be a case of stripping. I'm going to strip the auxiliary cover off it, the front cover, water pump, you know, everything I can to get it down to a block. I'm leaving the crank pistons, rods in there. I'll just mask up when I'm cleaning, painting. Give it a good wire wheel, good pressure wash, get it looking good. Now the problem is, that's all well and good with the engine, but I've then got the issue of built-in rusty engine mounts back to our nice, fresh, painted block. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just quickly, because I know he doesn't want to go a concourse build, car that he's going to use, he's not interested in that. But I can't then bolt all these dirty, grubby parts back to it, so I'm going to have to really quickly clean these up, quick lick of paint, throw them back together. You know, stuff like these, I can't put them on like that. It's just everything inside of me says no. I know he's only asked for the engine block to be painted, but these are really going to let it down. So quick clean up, lick of black paint just to make them look fresh, some new nuts and bolts because they're, you know, inexpensive, cost nothing, or cost pennies, some fresh core plugs, freshen it up, make it look good. I'll get these, like I say, get these the alley components vapor blasted, because my mate does it at Cheshire Vapor Blasting. He'll do it for me really cheap, so it won't cost the guy too much, the owner. Yeah, anyway, if you like the content, you like what I'm doing with this one, now would be a good time to hit that subscribe button. You can follow this build. I'm waiting for some parts to come in, waiting for the cylinder head to come back. Hopefully that'll be back next week. Waiting for bushes, bits and pieces, gaskets, you know, spray bar for the cylinder head because that was damaged. Waiting for all them bits. So hopefully next week I can start, get this painted up, get it reassembled, and start putting it back together. If you want to see that, then please subscribe, like, share, help the channel grow. I'm going to end that video off there. Hopefully early next week we'll start getting some parts, some bushes, some bits and pieces that I need, and hopefully the cylinder head comes back so I can start reassembling the engine, the gearbox, once it's all painted of course, and getting it back in the car. But I think next week's video will be the Blue Mark 1, which I've been wiring up. I have found some problems with the wiring loop, which was expected, but I am on with it, moving along, and yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.